Hello, welcome to episode 2.
Here's our blanket, excellent.
Asymmetrical twist. Dropping and sinking up.
Notice how
So just notice. Joining us for the second episode of next week. Namaste. Hello and welcome to episode 11 of Namaste Yoga. I'm here with my friends today, Stephanie and Ninka from Bliss Yoga Bliss. Bliss Yoga Bliss. Which way is it?
Yoga Bliss.
yogabliss.me. And today we're going to do a practice. We're going to continue with our theme of opening the body to the breath. And the idea that I had when I was putting this class together was to open the body as a container, thinking of the container being all the way up to the shoulders, right down to the hips. So we're going to do some hip openers and chest openers and shoulder openers and just really open up the whole torso so that we can have really nice breath movement through the body. So in today's class, if you have extra props at home, then if you have an extra mat, you can roll it up nice and tight like this. That will give you a nice roll that we're going to lie over. And actually, why don't you girls go ahead and do that, get lying down on that. The way that works is you're going to sit right in front of the mat and then lie your spine down over it, and then your head will rest on the spine, but your buttocks will be off the spine. And then if you have blocks, or a couple of pillows is nice too, you can take your blocks or your pillows. There goes my mat. That's the thing about these mats, is they unroll. And you can place them under your knees. So we're going to do reclined Tadasana. So if you open your knees, soles of the feet together, and rest your knees on the blocks, or at home if you have pillows, that can be great too. So you can already see here how we're starting to open up the body as a container all the way up to the shoulders, right down through the pelvis here. And this is how we're going to do our Savasana today. Now, if you don't have an extra mat to roll up like that, or you could use a beach towel would work. If you have a bolster at home, you could use that. That's lovely. If you don't have an extra thing like that, but you do have blocks, then what I would do is set up your blocks like this. One higher, one lower. This is nice if you've got the wider blocks. Those thin blocks tend to be a little unstable, so be careful if you've got the thin blocks. And then you can lie over the blocks. So you would put the low block, the bottom side of it, at the bra line, so you could rest over it like that and rest the head on the top block, and then you could just set yourself up with a couple of pillows for the legs. Okay, so a little extra time to get started this today, but I think that's going to be well worth it. And these are fabulous supported restorative postures. So we're working on restoring energy in the body rather than expending it, especially at this time of year when it's such a busy time of year, and you really need to conserve your energy more than expend it. Okay. So once you get yourself resting back, just take a few moments and settle in with your breathing. And feel the breath in the body. So just notice where you feel the breath and attend to it wherever you feel it at the moment. So if you feel it in the chest, bring that awareness to the breath in the chest. If you feel it in the belly, bring that awareness to the breath in the belly. And, this is really without any kind of effort. It's not a matter of doing the breath. It's a matter of tending to the breath. I was listening to a podcast of Ed Brown just last night, and he was talking about being kind to the breath. So I just love that. So when we do our breath practice, it doesn't have to be this really regimented, I'm doing breath practice, I'm doing my breath. It could be that you're going to take some time to be kind to your breath, that you're going to nurture your breath, that you're going to nourish the breath through this practice. So with that, we'll just notice where the breath is in the body, and then organically over the next 20 or 30 breaths, just imagine that breath expanding outwards through the body as a container. Start to feel it expand down into the pelvis and the hips, and then up into the shoulders. But allow that to happen gradually over time, because I think that tension accumulates slowly over time, and so that we need to give time for tension in the body to release slowly over time as well. And as you're resting over the mat and being supported by the blocks, just notice where you feel breath movement in the body, and not in a way that's judgmental or critical or evaluative. Just noticing if you feel breath movement more towards the shoulders, if you feel it deeper into the pelvis, if you feel breath movement more to the front of the body, or if you feel breath movement more to the back of the body. But just noticing where you feel breath movement, also noticing spaces that might feel a little more restricted. And again, bringing a real tender awareness to that, so that it's not like, oh man, there's absolutely no movement around my shoulders. Because that's, like adding another layer of tension to an already tense space. And we want to come to it with compassion and say, wow, poor me. The area is tight in my body, and I, at this moment, don't feel breath movement there. So very different ways of bringing awareness, and we always want to bring awareness with kindness. So gathering up all that information where you feel tension in the body, where you feel breath movement in the body. Notice what sort of emotional reaction you get to lying over the mats and the blocks here. And notice where your mind goes too. What kind of train of thought does it go on? And just keep bringing it back to the breath in a very gentle and kind way. Okay, so when you're ready, we're going to start to come off the blocks and the rolled mat, and you can just start by bringing the knees in and gently rolling to the side, and you can just roll off that roll and lie down on your back. Okay, so on our backs, we're going to start by drawing the right knee into the chest. And we're going to start by opening the lower portion of the container here. So I'm going to have you Just inhaling and opening that right leg out to the side as you're holding on to it with your right hand. And then we'll breathe out and we'll cross it over the body. Take the knee in the left hand and cross it over. So it's inhaling and opening, and exhaling and crossing over. In a way that starts to open up. And this, because you were lying over those supported blocks, should already feel some opening already, so that this kind of movement might feel a little easier in the body already. Okay, and then bring that leg back center. I'm going to have you lower that right leg down and slide it out. And then, I was very tipped. Take a moment now for awareness again, and just noticing what's happened in the body. Particularly notice what the lower part of the torso as a container feels like here, down through the hip. And maybe even just taking a breath again now and noticing if you feel more movement or energy into that lower right portion of the container. And then when you're ready, when you've done that noticing, we'll draw the left leg up and into the chest, and we'll inhale and open the left leg out to the side, and we'll breathe out and cross the left leg over the body. So moving, inhaling and opening, and exhaling and crossing. And you know, one thing that I love that you always say in your classes, Ninka, is to allow the breath to envelop the movement. And in my mind, when you say that, to me, that feels like there's this parenthesis around the movement, that the breath almost hugs the movement. And so I love that, how Ninka says, envelop the breath, allow the breath to envelop the movement. And you know, the thing too about that, as I prattle on here, that takes a lot of awareness, you know, to really plan the movement to be contained within the breath. And so it's a very useful tool in mindfulness too. Okay, so slowly coming back center after your next breath out and sliding that left leg down. Taking a breath here and noticing, feeling right into that area in the pelvis. So just noticing how that feels, if there's more movement, if you can feel breath deeper into the lower torso container of the body. Okay, so now I'm going to have us bend our knees, and we're going to lie on our left sides, and you're going to place your right hand on top of your left hand. Okay, so, and you know what I'm actually going to do? I'm going to do a preview for everybody at home, because once you get into this, I want you to see the whole thing, and then we'll do it together. But what we'll do is we'll start by sliding the shoulder blade away from the spine. And then we'll do opening, and sorry, I keep looking at the hand on the ground. And we'll repeat that a few times, and then we'll go into a full rotation and back. Okay? So stacking the hands one on top of each other, great. And you're going to inhale. Exhale, you're going to slide that hand beyond the bottom hand. Okay. Yeah, so breathe out, glide this hand away, and then breathe in and draw it back. So the start point and the finish point for this one is on top, the hands on top of each other. So we'll breathe out, glide away, and then we'll breathe in and glide back, and we'll stay with that movement for a little bit. So breathe out, glide the shoulder blade away from the spine, and breathe in and glide that back. Nice, Stephanie. All right, so we'll start from here. It's a glide the shoulder blade away. Yeah, and glide it back. Nice. This comes from a series, it's called the counter rotation series. It comes from the Feldenkrais technique, mode of movement. So in Feldenkrais, what they do is repeat primary movement patterns, so as to rebuild a body that moves really functionally like it did originally before we got all our bad habits. And what I really like that Ninka's done here, and it might be nice for you to do, Stephanie, is she's just put her mat underneath her head so that it supports her neck a little better. So at home you can use your mat if you have an extra one, and if not, just a pillow under there, that would be great too. Great. Okay, so now that we got that sorted, let's go to a counter rotation. My head's really dropping today too. So the next step is going to be, keep looking at the left hand that's on the ground. You're going to inhale, open that top right arm, torso and head stay still. And then you're going to breathe out and roll that closed. So it'll be breathe in, open. And breathe out and close. That's it. So without rolling through the back or the head. Yes. Good. And breathe out and close. Very nice. Excellent. And really allow that arm to sink heavy, heavy, heavy into the shoulder. Okay, and then let's go to inhale. We'll open that top right arm. You're going to roll onto the back of the head, onto the upper back, so you're rolling into that recline twist here. Great, and then we'll breathe out and roll back. And if you want to take longer to roll through this, just keep the breath continuous. It might take more than one full round of breath to do this. So, I'm going to just roll all the way. Yeah, great. Good. And then exhale and roll back. So as you roll, good. We're going to inhale, roll open, roll onto the back of the head. Yep. Open the arm. Yeah, roll on your head. Look towards the camera. Yeah. Great. And exhale and roll close. That's it. Very nice. Inhale, open. Great. And exhale, close. And another thing, I'm glad I came over here too, another thing that's nice with this to create more slack in the spine is to keep the knees bent up. So that will create more ease through the spine and the shoulders. Isn't that nicer? Yeah, look how much more movement there is there. So that's really nice. Great. Okay. All right. From here, we're going to lie on the other side, okay? So you can roll over. If you want to stay facing that way, you can. Just move your head over to the other side. Okay? And then, so this time you'll have the left hand stacked on top of the right hand. And this was nice. Some days you'll need this, some days your neck feels good. But it's nice to have the extra propping. So we'll stack the left hand on top of the right hand. Knees are bent right up and stacked right on top of each other. We'll breathe in, breathe out, glide that shoulder blade away from the spine, and breathe in and glide back. And I remember the days when I started this series. It was after my second time being rear-ended in a car accident. And I had gone to the Feldenkrais studio here in Toronto and learned this series, and oh my God, what a godsend this was. But back then, I can remember I could only move my fingertips. I only had as much mobility in my shoulders to be able to move my fingertips about a nail's length, and now there's really nice movement there. Thank God for yoga. And I like this one. I've chosen this one today because I think it opens up the upper container of the breath. Okay, and then we're going to inhale, open that top left arm without rolling through the head, just bringing that left arm behind you, keeping the torso, the head, and everything still, and breathing out and closing. Okay, and then we're going to inhale, roll, open. I'm rolling onto my back and rolling open. I was wondering how close I am to you. Pretty close. Exhale and roll back close. How you doing back there, Ninka? You got enough room? Yeah. Adapting. This is nice with bent elbows too. Okay, and then I'm going to get you to lie on your backs. I'm going to get Stephanie and Ninka to lie on their backs, and I just want you to feel that. Just notice how that feels up through the upper portion of the container, and particularly for you, Stephanie, like just notice how your shoulders feel, because I know those, for you, those tend to be really tight. Yeah. So just notice if they feel, do you feel more connection to the ground at the back with the shoulders there? Yeah, yeah. So this is a great one to really release the shoulders. So as you rest here, just notice and feel the breath. Notice if you feel breath movement right up into the shoulders. And start to notice that sense of that opening of the container all the way up through the shoulders, down through the pelvis. Okay, so from here, what I'm going to have you do, we're going to all start lie on our stomachs, and we're going to open the lower portion of the container again. So lying on your stomachs. We're going to, okay, I've got my left leg up, so we'll start by bringing the left leg up. And you can just rest your forehead on the mat. And bring the left leg up to the side. And I'm actually just going to avoid this because of the microphone and stuff. Okay, excellent. So let's bring the leg up more like at a 90-degree angle. So I'm going to just, this is great, and just out to the side a bit too. Yeah, great, perfect. And your goal here is to settle the front of the pelvis into the ground. So eventually this space in here is going to start to close as the low back lengthens, pelvic tilt lengthen through the low back. And can you girls both feel this in your groins? Really? Interesting. So you're always going to feel it wherever you're more tight. Are you feeling it in your groin a bit? You're feeling it in your back? Okay, when I did it, I felt it in my groin. So it just could be that the inner thigh and the groin is not as tight. But you can see, from this position, you can see that there's still a lot of settling that can happen through the low back and before that space is going to close in here on the inner thigh. So nice restorative pose. If you're really not feeling anything, you can straighten that leg out to the side. So maybe we'll get Ninka to stay with the original, and we'll get Stephanie to straighten the legs. So just out this way. Yeah. So now you're probably do you feel that more? Yeah. So this is a nice way to add more to it. Yeah, but I love the bent one, and I like my students to stay with the bent one because I think a lot of times less is more. We don't need to do more in our poses to get like to feel the burn or something, because you can see even with the leg bent, there's a lot of releasing still to happen in the groin. Okay, let's bring that leg in and just switch up legs to the other sides, ladies. Great. 90-degree, great, good. And breathing and really softening and dropping that inner thigh, inner pelvis into the ground. And then I'm going to get you to gather yourselves up, and from here we're just pushing ourselves up onto all fours. Let's just do a little bit of cat pose here. So we'll exhale, round up through the back, and inhaling and extending. So lengthening through the back of the container, opening up the front of the container, so going back and forth. And then from here we'll come into down dog, so spreading the fingers nice and wide, tucking the toes under, breathe in, breathe out, piking those hips up into down dog just briefly as a transition pose. And from here, we'll come into pigeon. So I'm going to get you to take the right leg up. Just give it a little shake so you find some movement in the top of the leg bone and the pelvis. And then we'll bend that right leg through and lengthen the back left leg long. Okay. And let's stay in the back bending version of pigeon today. Nice. Good. So the right heel is going to line up with the left hip bone. And the way Stephanie's doing it is a really nice modified version of it. You can see right here that her heel is right underneath the buttocks. So for more, you can bring the heel over to the left hip there. So bring your foot around over there. Yes. Good. Yeah. And then, yeah, more of a stretch. And you can keep the hips square. And I like what Ninka just did, which was to prop. So at home, if you have pillows, just stick a pillow under there. Nothing wrong with you. The floor is just not high enough, right? Great. Pigeon. Do you like pigeon? Do you? Yeah. I was just thinking, I don't think we've ever done pigeon in your class. Do you? We just haven't recently. This pose, I used to love it and do it all the time. And then, you know how poses go in your repertoire? You sort of have one that you work with for a while, and then it moves along, and then you forget about it for a while. Okay, so from here, let's come into downward facing dog. And we'll bring that left leg up, giving it a little shake, bringing the left leg through, reaching the right leg back and long. Stay in the back bending version today. Okay, so coming back, we're going to do frog pose now. And this pose, you'll feel. So what we're going to do with frog pose is to open up the groin area. So if you can turn sideways on your mat so your mat supports your knees. And if you're at home, you may have some pillows or a couple of extra blankets at home that you can put under your knees, which is really nice because the insides of the knees can tend to be quite tender. So what we're going to do is bring those knees open wide, and you want the legs at a 90-degree angle. Okay, you'll come down. You may be able to lie on your belly, but generally when I see my students lying on the belly, it's because they're way too far forward and their tail's lifted. And you can see here I've totally lost that sort of 90-degree angle there too. So staying up, ooh, little push up there. Keeping the tail tucked under and shifting back. Yeah, and this is intensity. This is intense. So let me just show you. Talk about not mindful. I think I didn't say this. The tendency is to have the tail lifted and leaning forward. Yeah, I did say this. Tuck the tail under and lean back. Great groin stretch. And the other thing is that the people tend to bring the knees, the feet in. You can keep them out at a 90-degree angle. That's really nice. So we breathe. we pray here. Right? We pray for relief. I've been saying to my students lately that this is a pose that doesn't make it too much into the home practice repertoire. We do it in class, but I have to say I don't too often choose it of my own volition. Okay, so now the easiest way that I know out of it is to kind of flop forward, gather the legs up, and come back and up from there. Whew, frog pose. Okay, and then we'll make our way to kneeling. And from kneeling, we'll take our right legs out to the side, your left at home. Keep the tails tucked under. So tendency here, especially if you have a body that's structured like mine, is for the pelvis to tip forward. So always just make sure pelvis is level, hip bones, pubic bones in the same line. For me, that's always involves a tuck. For some people, it's not so much. And then we'll inhale, take our arms overhead. And we're going to exhale, we're going to bend over the long leg. And you can lower that arm down so that it can rest on the leg. Great. And you want to make sure, very nice, to keep that top shoulder back. So tendency here is to come forward in an effort to bend sideways more, but that doesn't really create a side bend. So we're going to keep that top shoulder up and bending over, so we're getting a side bend. Great. And then slowly up, and we'll bring that extended leg in. And we're going to do this on the other side. So we'll take the other leg out to the side. We've discovered that toes facing front is really nice because toes to the side means then you're struggling to rotate the pelvis around. The toes are front. The two hip bones stay pretty square to the front. So we've been working with that in class lately. And then we'll inhale, take the arms up overhead. And we're going to breathe out, side bend over to the side, keeping that top shoulder back, bringing the hand down on the leg, either forearm, hand, just above the knee or below it, but not on the knee. And we'll come up slowly, and then we're already in a nice position to come all the way up to standing. So coming up to standing. Okay, from standing, let's stand in Tadasana. Feet are underneath the hip bones, spreading the toes nice and wide. Inside edges of the feet are parallel. Lengthen those legs down into the ground. In a few weeks, we're going to be doing a grounding class where we really think about feeding the legs out of the pelvis. I'm going to get you to interlace the fingers behind the back. You're going to roll the shoulders back and down so the chest is broad and wide. And then we'll breathe in here, breathe out, and open up through that chest. That's funny. Today I can feel that most in my abs. Most days you feel it most in your chest. Yeah, so opening. Nice, great. I like to call this the counter pose to life. Because everything we do is in front of us. Okay. And slowly lower down. Great, and maybe just roll those shoulders a little bit. Good. And then we're going to bring the arms overhead. And from here, we're just going to do a little side bend. So let's make it moving. So we'll inhale, center, We'll exhale, side bend. Breathing in center and breathing out, side bending. Okay, and then slowly lower down, and we'll just roll those shoulders back and down again. Okay, great. And just taking notice of how the torso is opening as a container. You can feel it expanding so that there's more room and space, and then there's able to be more breath movement through that container. Okay, so we're going to do Nadarajasana. So we haven't done this yet, I don't think, in Namaste Yoga. So I'm going to get you to stand on your left foot, and we'll take the right foot up, and you're going to bend the right leg, holding on to the knee. Bending the knee, holding on to the ankle. And if you have a wall close by, you could hold on to the wall for balance. And what I want you to do over the next several breaths before we move into back bend or anything is to just allow that knee to drop and lengthen long out of the pelvis. Keep the tail curled under. Yeah, and bring it in. So tendency in this one is that the leg comes forward and there's not enough lengthening down and opening. And then the other tendency is that it's out to the side. Okay, so just spending a few breaths, really dropping this, yeah. Okay, and then we'll bring the left arm up. We'll keep the tail dropping. When I studied with Tama Sobel at Esther Myers, she always loved to do this version upright. So I encourage you to try the upright version today. It is actually in a lot of ways more challenging than the tipping version and does create more opening through the torso, through the chest, and through the front of the hip. Okay, so what we'll do here is we'll breathe in, we're going to breathe out. You're going to start to draw that heel away from the buttocks, and you'll notice that action starts to open up the chest here. Tail keeps dropping, spine starts to bend backwards here. Yeah, nice. Great. Good. So Nadarajasana, dancer pose, as a way to open the torso as a container for breath. Great. And then slowly lower that down. Whew, okay. We're going to do that on the other side. How was that? That was long. That's the thing. When you're a teacher, you just, whip in, whip out of the pose. That's what I always find when I go to class is like, my God, this is long. Okay, so now we'll stand on the right leg. We'll bend the left leg. Okay. So really dropping through that left leg, lengthening the leg long. Tail's dropping. The right hand can come up or it can balance on a door. You want that back long, tail dropping. You're going to inhale here. Exhale, you're going to start drawing that heel. You'll notice here the heel drawing away from the buttocks. Good, and notice too how you start to see that shape being created in the spine, opening through the chest here. Good. Okay, very good. Release and lower that down. Whew, okay, that feels good. A lot of movement. All right, let's turn sideways on our mat, and we'll take our feet nice and wide. Okay. Just check that your toes are both facing front and the inside edges of the feet are parallel. A lot of things that I notice in class is the toes are turned out, the outside edges of the feet are lifting. So connect to the outside edges of the feet. We're going to roll those shoulders back and down again, interlace the fingers, and we're going to fold forward here. And open the chest. Nice, very nice. And you really want to let the back of the neck be long. So the crown of the head, yeah, Ninka's doing a fabulous job. The crown of the head is dropping towards the ground. So the nice thing about this pose is you can see the gravity can lengthen the spine in the opposite direction that it usually does, especially the weight of the head always on the neck here. Now gravity can draw the weight of the head lengthening out through the neck here, which is just lovely to invert the way that gravity usually works on the body. So healthy for the body and the spine and the organs, the brain. Brain gets a nice blood bath here. Okay, and then slowly up. Okay, great. Now I would like you to make your way down to lying on your mat. So you're going to lie on your bellies, okay? And we're going to go with that leg position that we had at the beginning. So coming down onto our mats and lying on our bellies. And let's take the left leg up to the side and just take a few breaths here and allow that space in the pelvis to really start to close and settle here. Okay, so from here what we're going to do is start with your hands out in front of you, pelvic tilt so the pubic bone is reaching into the ground and the low back is long. And then I'm going to have you start to walk your elbows back to underneath the shoulders, so you're in Sphinx pose with the leg up to the side. So notice how much more challenging that is with the legs asymmetrical, yeah? Before, when we were doing a run through before, Ninka was like, I've never seen this version. Is it for real? So when the legs are asymmetrical, it's more of a challenge for the spine. So here we're grounding down through the forearms, rooting down through the elbows. And one thing that I noticed is if you can think about the bottoms of the rib cage here sinking into the ground, that's great too. Great, and then we're going to lower down. We'll bring that left leg down. And we'll bring the right leg up to the side. Ooh, what a difference between those two sides. Okay, and then we'll start with the hands forward again, and we'll just walk those elbows up and underneath the shoulders. So the upper portion of the spine is bending backwards. Right, you're getting a stretch through the right hip, the front of the right side of the pelvis. If you're feeling, just go with that extended leg. But I think because of the legs being asymmetrical for the spine, there's already a lot going on here. You know, the Sphinx is one of those small shape poses, but lots happening. Okay, great. So coming from here, bring that leg down, bring the arms down, and push yourself up and back into child's pose.
And maybe child's pose with the hands down by the feet can be really nice after this. Okay, and then we're going to slowly roll ourselves up to seated.
Let's just sit cross-legged facing the front. And what I'm going to encourage you to do is once you have the legs crossed, to cross them the other way, because we always cross them the same way, and then that creates these habitual patterns in the body. And I've noticed when I just cross the legs the other way, it's like it feels like it's a whole different person doing the yoga postures. So it can make a huge difference. Okay, from here, we're going to take, I'm going to get you to take your right hand, our left, to the outside of the left knee. Take the left hand behind you and lengthen the spine up. Great. Yeah, and I like Ninka's using her meditation cushion to prop herself up. Does that allow you to lengthen your spine a little more? Is that why you do it? Nice. So propping is such a great idea. Prop whenever possible. When I do Thai massage and Phoenix Rising yoga therapy, we use tons and tons and tons of props. We're always propping the body. Just allows the body to let go and release and lengthen with a lot more ease. Okay, and then come on back center. And then we'll take the left hand, our right, to the outside of the right knee. Right hand comes behind the spine. It lengthens up. Twisting. Back center. Great. We're going to do Baddha Konasana with the soles of the feet together, drawing them towards the the groin, opening the knees out to the side. We'll lengthen the spine up nice and tall. We'll breathe in here. And some days, you know what, this is totally enough for me. But today, if your legs feel good, you can fold forward in. Props are friends here too, so you can always it's very nice to place some props under the knees. So if you've got your blocks handy or your cushions, that can be great too. Everybody have props? Isn't that better? Then the hips can open. I once had this student, she was so hyperly mobile through her joints. We had to, when she did this pose, her legs would just flop to the ground. And so we actually would sit her up on a block so her legs could open more. But in fact, she needed to strengthen those joints, not get them more mobile. That's dangerous. Those legs were going to fall off one day walking down the stairs. Oh, I haven't seen her in so long. I often wonder what happened to her. Okay, let's. We're going to finish our practice seated today with a series of hand-body mudras. The shape of the hands is the same for every single one, which is just this L shape in the hands, and we're going to have 3 positions on the body. So the first position, we're going to just check in and feel for breath movement in the containers. That's what we've been doing this whole practice, is opening up the torso as a container for breath. So the first position will be here at the pelvis. The second position will be here at the rib cage. And then the third position will be here up at the armpits. And let me give you a little modification for that one, because this one, the shoulders, so maybe for you, Stephanie, do you notice as soon as you bring your hands up here, it's like probably like your shoulders are screaming, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And it takes effort. It's hard. We tend to hold our arms up with our shoulders, not our back. So a nice modification for that is to cross the hands and just put the an open palm in the armpits instead. And that's way easier. Yeah. Okay. All right, so we are going to finish our practice today this way. L shape, starting down at the pelvis. Feeling for breath movement down at the pelvis. And we'll shift the hands up to the base of the ribs. Then we'll make one more shift, so hands come up to the armpits, thumbs reaching into the tops of the ribs here, or the option to cross the hands over the body and bring flat palms to underneath the arms. Okay, and then to finish, let's bring our hands to Namaste. Thank you very much for joining us for the 11th episode of Namaste Yoga. Have a great week. Namaste.